Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm back with another apartment renovation, and we are actually renovating one of the giant one-story apartments in San Myshuno. This is 1020 Alto Apartments. I think I've only renovated this unit or the other unit in this building once or twice before because it's such a massive apartment that it's a little bit of an undertaking to attempt, but I did decide to decorate this space, and it ends up being an apartment for, I believe, 7 Sims. I had the idea of making it for a large family. Since it's such a large apartment, I couldn't really come up with too many ideas of who would live here. Maybe if you wanted to have like a large band, but we don't have proper bands in the game, but I decided it was going to be for 2 parents. They have 2 infants that were just born. There's also 2 children and 1 teenager. So 7 Sims. You could probably add a pet in here pretty easily as well if you'd like to, but it's a big modern family apartment and it's utilizing a lot of the new items from the latest kits. I think they are so beautiful. Creator kits always have some really nice items in them, but I really hope you will enjoy this build. If you do and you'd like to download it for yourself, it is available right now on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will be in the description down below as well. Also, I know right now is a really weird time for The Sims, but if you are already planning to buy a new piece of DLC for the game, if you use a creator code, EA gets less of your money, and it supports a creator instead. You can use mine if you want, it's just Gryphi, but please use someone's if you buy anything, and thanks if you do use mine. So the floor plan is mostly figured out at this point. There's going to be a couple of small changes as I go to make it so like the bathrooms make more sense with where I have all of the other rooms, and there's also a laundry room towards the entrance, and I section off a space for a closet as well as sort of block off the front door to put down a different one that matches the style of the rest of the apartment a little bit better, because I did keep most of the original windows in this apartment and they just don't match the front door this apartment normally has. I think it's a really weird stylistic choice that they made here because it's a super modern apartment but the front door isn't. It makes absolutely no sense. Also, this is the apartment that has a built-in fireplace that you don't get the option to remove or move at all. It's stuck where it is, and I thought that that was kind of a fun challenge because I haven't really decorated this apartment that many times. And also, I really like that fireplace, and I really wish that we had it as an actual item in the game. I think it's a cute one, and I would love it if they would add that to the game. I highly doubt they will because it's from City Living. It was so many years ago now, but I do really like it, so it was a fun thing to build around. And right now we are working on the kitchen. I am using the countertops from Home Chef Hustle, which are some of my favorite ones in the game, and adding so much clutter, mostly from the kitchen clutter kit, but from a variety of different packs, including the pots and pans from Adventure Awaits that I love, and some shelves up here that I'm going to clutter up with a bunch of different items. I always like the look of open shelving in the game, but I feel like in real life I would just end up shoving so many things up there and it would never look nice. It would always look cluttered. Kind of like how the top of my fridge looks. That's at least how I live. The top of the fridge is extra storage. That's where like cereal boxes go, and we also keep boxes of like tea and stuff up there. Sometimes the bread even ends up on top of the fridge. It's just like a catch-all area, and I don't typically do that in The Sims because it doesn't look very nice, but it is very realistic. Let me know if you keep things on top of your fridge or inside your stove. This was a discussion we had over on Twitch recently about who keeps things on top of their fridge and if anyone stores things inside their stove as well, because when you're not using it, it's just extra storage space. And I know we sometimes will keep things in there, and growing up, whenever I went to my grandma's house, she kept all of her bread and baked goods and things like that in the stove or in the oven. So I would love to know if that's something anyone else does. Anyway, I've picked out most of the clutter at this point, and I'm just going to be changing the chairs a couple of different times, as well as the lighting that goes above the island. And I also cannot make up my mind on what sort of tile I want in the kitchen, and it will change quite a few more times. I am going to come back to the kitchen later on after I decorate some of the other rooms and get a better concept of what the style in this whole apartment is, and end up changing that tile to something else. But for right now, I have one here from Parenthood. I think it's really pretty, but it just doesn't end up fitting the rest of the apartment, so I do end up changing it. And then I thought about using the table and chairs that came with the latest kit. I didn't end up doing that in the end. Instead, in the kitchen, I am using the ones from the Cozy Kitsch kit, And then in the dining space, I end up using a table, I believe, from Jungle Adventure and pairing it with some chairs from my wedding stories. But anyway, at this point, I had just installed the latest kits, and so I was grabbing some of the decorative items that I wanted to use in the kitchen. So we have lots of plants and also some like fresh veggies that were picked, this really pretty bird statue, and then I am cluttering up with some items from the kitchen clutter kit, just like jars of stuff and little canisters as well. Just decorating some more open shelves and trying to make it not look too cluttered and like look intentional. I think I achieved it, but you can let me know. And I also wanted to make sure I didn't forget a trash can. And there's also going to be aprons in here, as well as a parenting board from the Parenthood pack. It's interesting because I really like how this kitchen came out. It's just, I was having issues with deciding if it fit with the rest of the apartment once I got to decorating that. But for right now, I'm picking out the doors I want to have into each of the rooms, which ended up being this modern one that I don't remember what pack it's from. And then for the sofas, I did use the latest ones that came with the modern retreat kit. And I tried them in black and in beige, but in the end, they end up being green, which I think is really fun. And I paired it with a rug that came with the other kit that just came out. That one is called Garden to Table. And then I am placing some of the new cushions on here that are in the base game that we got with an update a week or so ago. That brought us a bunch of West African inspired items, and I just think these cushions are so cute. I tried a few different swatches. In the end, I end up with like a black and brown patterned one, which I think is so pretty, but you can see me experimenting now to figure out what I would like it to look like. And then I am also rotating them with the tool mod so that they're leaning back a little bit on the sofa. And this new lamp is beautiful. This is also from one of the new kits, and I just really like it. And of course, I wanted this to be a family home, so I was trying to figure out the best way to bring in the items for that. And so I was like, let's put some stuffed animals on the couch. Let's grab a dollhouse and start adding items like that as I'm progressing through the build instead of waiting till everything's already done and then being like, oh yeah, it's for a family. And I think that helped a lot because it just feels so much more cozy and inviting, even though it is quite a modern space. And overall, I'm so happy with how this came out. I was also really glad that I decided to put the living room over here instead of by the fireplace. I decided to leave the fireplace area open for a dining room. So there is a full dining room here, plus a table in the kitchen for your Sims to dine at as well. So lots of space for parties or big family get-togethers. It's a really big apartment, which is why I don't decorate this one very often. It's just a little overwhelming to start, but I'm so glad that I decided to tackle this one recently because I think it came out so cute. Definitely let me know what you think of it in the comments. But moving into the dining room now, this is the table I ended up using. I really wanted to bring in that same wood tone that I have on the floor and on the bookcases, and the edge and the feet of this table did that. And so this one is from Jungle Adventure, and here are those chairs I had mentioned earlier from the Wedding Stories pack. And I also decided to move a bunch of the kids' toys into here and create sort of like a dedicated space that's for their larger toys, like the dollhouse and stuff. Like this is where everything gets put away, and I just thought that that was quite realistic, and I really liked how it came out. And then we're just playing around with what textures I want to have behind the fireplace as well as in the kitchen. And at this point, I decided that it would look nicer if I kept all of the windows, but I changed the swatch to black. And I'm so glad I did that. It just matches the color scheme that I have going on in here so much better, but it still feels like it fits really nicely with the building. And then one of my favorite things I did in this build is this light, which I think is from Love Struck. I went ahead and placed 4 of them and just rotated it and overlapped them. So it's sort of like the light is in a little cage. I think it's just an interesting look and allowed me to have a different lighting fixture than typical because I just combined a few items to make it look that way. Anyway, I am now cluttering up the bookcases. These ones are also from the latest Modern Retreat kit. I think they're really cool, and I am just adding a bunch of different items to them to make it feel like this space has been lived in, and there's like a curated collection of decor, a mixture of plants and vases and prints and books, and I think it looks really cute in the end. I was pretty pleased with this. It's a little fiddly trying to get everything to place where you want it. That goes for any type of shelf though. So you can see me like placing things and then moving them over or raising them up with the 9 and 0 keys or adjusting it with tool as well. I also added a couple of bottles of juice or some sort of alcohol up there for your Sims to enjoy. And then I am playing around with adding another texture to the wall. This one is like a wood panel, and I think that one looks quite nice. I also added so many more kids' toys in this space and a keyboard. I thought it would be kind of a fun idea that maybe one of the kids was into piano or was working on it. And I actually ended up having a second keyboard in the teenager's room because I'm thinking maybe that the teenager has gotten into a band at this point, so that they wanted their own keyboard in their space. So there will be a second of those you'll see a little bit later on. And then I also added a little playmat in here for the infants that I imagine they were twin infants. They have a bedroom with 2 cribs in it, which I don't think I've ever done that before. I always have like twin toddlers or twin kids, but I never have twin infants. So I thought that that was a fun addition. And then I'm just cluttering up the little table behind the couch. And I also got to use one of the new tables from Modern Retreat that is like an animal table. I don't know which animal it is, but I thought it was really cute. I put it next to the sofa, and that's where I put one of the lamps. And then over here is going to be the television, where I am using the new end table again, but I paired it with a bookcase from Seasons actually. And then this is also a new chair from that kit as well. There are 2 chairs that came with the kit. This one that matches the sofas, and then there is one that I also placed in this room that has a matching ottoman that's a little bit of a different style. And I just thought they were both really pretty, so I ended up using them. And then I remembered we had this little basket from Base Game that is very like kid coded, like you would probably put toys or something in it. So I decided to place that in this room as well. And then I'm just cluttering up the bookcase with a couple of items and a spot above the TV to put some family photos. And one thing with this apartment being so big is we were bound to have some really long hallways. So this is our big hallway that leads you down to the bedrooms and the bathrooms. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to decorate this, so I ended up actually putting a couple of these tables next to each other to create a really long table with lamps on either end. And I thought that this long rug, the like runner rug that you could piece together from vampires, would work quite nicely in this space. And I tried a bunch of different colors on the wall, and I actually ended up using this green, which is kind of fun. And I brought it through in a few of the other spaces as well. But this hallway just has like a table in it, a ton of mirrors, and the temperature controls. And then we're back in the living room to place down a bunch of bookcases, which are the ones from the Secret Sanctuary kit. And I also got this little playhouse from Dream Home Decorator in the corner. I thought that that could be really fun for the kids, and I also had the space. It's such a big room, and I did want this to feel like a apartment that has been kind of taken over by the kids. It's really important to have all of their stuff out and about, so I thought that that was a good place for it. And then I had this empty wall I wasn't really sure what to do with, so I put a couple of these decorative wall pieces that came in one of the latest kits, and then we're moving on to the entryway, which I cluttered up with items from the Grange Mudroom kit. I really love this one. I even placed one of the shelves on the shelf and used Tool to pull it forward so it looks like those paintings and that little plant are leaning on the open shelving. And I, of course, needed to put the hanging plant in here. That is one of my favorite items in the game. That is from the Blooming Rooms kit, and I use it in pretty much every build and probably multiple times in every build. But this is going to be our laundry room. I just have a washer, a dryer, a single clothes basket, and some decor in here. That clothes basket is going to fill up so quickly with how many Sims are in this house, so you might want to add more. But I didn't want to put them all over the apartment because it's annoying in gameplay to have to go around and collect all of the dirty clothes like you have to in real life. So having it actually just in the laundry room is probably your best bet, but you could probably put one in the bathroom as well, especially this one because it's right across the hall from the laundry room. This is just the hall bath when you first walk in, but I did put shower in here so you have more spaces for your Sims to get ready for the day. The other 2 bathrooms, I'm pretty sure both have a shower tub combo, so you can bathe infants and toddlers in them, or if you have a pet, you have the option to do that, and here I am decorating the first of them. I'm not sure if I show all 3 or not, but they're all very similar. I have like the same fixtures. I just have to pick out a different layout depending on the size of the room and what space I had available. And I also, in the hall bath that is going to be for the kids to use, end up having way more clutter that I felt like would accumulate with a younger audience. This one does have a door to the hallway and to the primary bedroom, so this is the ensuite bathroom, but I figured it would be nice to have a door to the hall as well. Not only for functionality, and so it looks like other Sims could use it, but also the hallway was so long, having a door to break up the space I thought was very helpful. And then this is the final bathroom. You can see I have a plastic like set of drawers and just a bunch of stuff out on the countertop. I felt like that was realistic for a bunch of kids and a teenager sharing this space. And then I just got them a couple of little like mats to put under the toilet and in front of the shower. And we are finally moving on to our first bedroom. This is going to be the primary bedroom. I really loved this green color, so I brought it into this room and ended up using one of my favorite beds in the game from Eco Lifestyle, and I paired it with a rug from Werewolves. And I also got to use the new artwork that came in the base game update a week or so ago. I thought it worked perfectly in here with the colors I was using, and I also was able to pair it with these new wall pieces from the latest kit. I used them to sort of like anchor where the bedside tables were, and I just think it looks so, so nice. Also, can we take a moment for the lamps on the bedside tables? I use them so many times in this apartment because they're my favorite lamp in the game now. It just looks like the most simple lamp you've ever seen in your life that you've seen a million times, except it's got that beautiful wood on the bottom. It's just such a nice silhouette, and I feel like I'm going to be using it so much in the future. I just love it and was so excited to use them in this build. They just feel really versatile. Anyway, finishing up decorating the dresser in the primary bedroom, and then we should be heading on into the infant's room, which I have a door off of the hallway and off of the primary bedroom into here. I think that's pretty realistic with baby rooms in like more expensive spaces. I've seen a lot of tours online where there is a door into the room the children would be in. So I used a couple of these base game cribs and I paired them with these really cool curtains that go above them. That is from the Storybook Nursery Kit by 6MCC, and it's just beautiful. I needed to use that in here. I also grabbed a variety of toys. There's this really cute art print on the wall of a fox from the Tiny Living kit, or stuff pack, I should say. And then, of course, I wanted to include a changing table. And that should be it, or pretty much it for this nursery, just getting a couple of toys in here, and then we should be moving on back into the hallway, as the hallway is kind of a funky shape, so I needed to add a little bit more decor here, so I ended up getting a piece of art for the wall, and then continuing that long hallway mat that I have in the first parts from Vampires. And then this room is going to be a shared kids room. I was kind of imagining there was a boy and a girl in here, but it could be whoever you want. It's just one side is like purple, yellow, and a little bit of pink, and the other side is very blue centric. I really just wanted to pick out a couple of swatches of this bed from the kids room stuff pack, and these were the two that I chose since they have the same wood tone. And I really like this one. I love the little character on it, and I was thinking that this sim in particular was really into whatever that character is. And then the sim on the other side of the room, I thought about being into void critters, but I decided maybe the sim with the pink and purple was more into void critters. And the sim with the blue part of the room is actually really into like robots and like mecha. So I ended up using some posters to represent that instead, which I thought was so, so fun. And not one that I use too often. They also both have their own desk. I was kind of imagining that these Sims were close in age, but maybe not twins. They could be though, because twins tend to run in families. So if there's twin infants, there could be twin children as well. It's up to you how you want that to work. It could also be like maybe the teenager and one of these kids is from a previous marriage on one side, and then the other kid was from the other parent. And so they are step siblings that live in the same room, and then the parents had infants. That's kind of a cute idea. So, and there's a lot of different ways you could play it, and you're probably going to customize the bedrooms anyway. If you download this house, you're probably not going to keep them as is unless you exactly have the family that I had in mind when I was decorating. But yeah, this sim also has a couple of the Void Critter packs. I guess I kept it for both of them. I thought it was kind of a fun idea, but I don't think I ended up adding the Void Critter battle station in here. That's something there's definitely space for though, because this is a really big bedroom. All of the bedrooms are actually pretty spacious because of how big this apartment is. And that is it for that room, and we're moving into the teenager's room now, which is very much focused on the color scheme of this bed. This is one of my favorite beds. It's from City Living, this beautiful canopy bed. So I decided to grab this in this swatch that has sort of a teal colored bedspread with some orange pillows. And I played off of that for the color of the walls. I also wanted to have a bedside table that had some fun color in it, as well as the rug. And I was thinking that this sim was really into music. I had mentioned earlier that they're going to have their own keyboard in here. They're also going to have a guitar and just like a ton of music related posters. I thought it was a really fun room and very colorful as well. Not a color scheme I go for very often, but I thought it was really fun. And so yeah, just figuring out all of the posters, using tool to rotate them a little bit so that they are not like perfectly straight up and down on the wall. I think that just looks a little bit more realistic, that they were just kind of slapped up there real quick with some tape. I know that's how I used to hang up posters when I was in high school, so that is something that I thought would be a realistic touch for this room. I also made sure to get headphones on their bedside table and just like some extra storage and a cell phone. That's probably something they're usually glued to. But that is pretty much it for this room and pretty much it for this build. So I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You could also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for your continued support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. Please enjoy the screenshots and I will see you all in the next one. Bye everyone.